I'm Sam.
And this is Gabe.
And this is Coaster Wars.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coaster Wars podcast, where today we are talking about disappointments.
We've done this once before. We talked about our worst credit. So sometimes we do have to unfortunately talk about the bad side of the roller coastering world. And I guess these weren't really necessarily bad coasters. They just weren't what we were expecting. So there's that at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't say these are bad roller coasters. I think that's might be a little bit of a misconception of this episode. These are just coasters that we might have hyped up too much or had a certain image of in our brains, and then when we actually got off the roller coaster, it didn't quite live up to that image. For mine personally, at least, it just wasn't nearly what I expected at all. I was very disappointed in the intensity and the pacing and just about everything associated with that roller coaster, except for the one element that I was very excited for. So I will say that. That being said, I feel like the same with your coaster. It was just a little different than from what we were expecting.
Yeah, basically the one I'm talking about today is an RMC. And so I didn't have any grand expectations for this ride, but I did have what I'm going to call RMC expectations because we do love that manufacturer a lot. And I just did not like this coaster, unfortunately. So
it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's opinion's a little different. So
exactly. But with that, Gabe, why don't you introduce our fighters this week?
All right. In the blue corner, standing at a max height of 95 feet and reaching a top speed of 53 miles per hour. Hailing from the hills of Pennsylvania and the B&M Gym, it is Hydra The Revenge. In the red corner, standing at a max height of 111 feet and reaching a top speed of 54 miles per hour. Hailing from the grasslands of Virginia and the RMC Gym, it is Twisted Timbers. Let the fight begin.
All right. So the one I was disappointed in was 2018 RMC that is at King's Dominion. And part of this was I actually thought this was a painful ride experience. And me and Gabe have a certain tolerance for that in a roller coaster. But I didn't like it in this one. We rode it twice.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is that you did enjoy it. So, but I don't know what it was. It was just the way it slammed me into the restraints. It really hurt my legs, and I did not have a fun time. And even so, we're backseat riders, and it's usually with these guys, it's a little bit more intense in the back row. And so we rode it in the middle of the train. The second time to kind of maybe tame down the forces a little bit. It didn't make a difference to me. So I was not a fan of this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, this coaster's a powerhouse. That's the simplest explanation. But obviously, are we just gonna get right into this one? I guess.
Yeah. Let's go for it.
Twisted Timbers, has some of the same issues some of the other RMCs on this world have. Is that the restraints just are not great designs.
No.
The other thing too is being in 2018, I do believe this is the original RMC trains, not the Gen 2 RMC trains. I could be wrong on that.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it says on RCDB. Let me look.
It looks like they're the Gen 1 trains. They're hard to tell the difference when you look at them, but there is a slight variation in the restraint system.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing with this roller coaster is that it was a lot more like Steel Vengeance than we wanted it to be.
Yeah. Well, it opened the same year as Steel Vengeance.
That is true.
So I wonder if this is just kind of the mindset RMC was at the time. It was in at the time. And so, yeah. So the problems we talk about with Steel Vengeance, which this coaster suffers from a little bit, I think, is it's a little bit repetitive. And it's really these really short, sharp bursts of ejector time. And I really I personally really like something a little bit more sustained. And then because they were so short, it was like just really these quick pops of slamming me into the restraints. I don't know that I had bruises after, but I definitely was in pain and not a pain that I liked. And then the barrel down drop, I mean, it's cool, but I like a little more traditional
That is the
drop.
that is the one area in the roller coaster world where we are very traditional. We like our straight down normal drops. Even when the B&M inverts, like throw a little bit of a curve into that drop, it's like, yeah, it's just not quite the same. It's like we
No,
want
it's
that good
not.
old fashioned raging bull, throw you into the restraint uh kind of first drop. I thought it was cool. My problem is I've experienced the Iron Gauzy Death Roll, and nothing will ever really live up to that.
Yeah.
So to have a barrel roll down drop like this was kind of like for me. That being said, this coaster's not bad. It's definitely a good ride experience. There is definitely a lot of people that really, really love this roller coaster, but it's just one of those things where like those quick pops of airtime over and over and over again do become painful,
Yep.
especially in a situation that we were in when it was like 100 degrees out and this coaster was running at its absolute fastest. Because let's be
I
honest here, this thing was rolling around
oh
its layout, like just absolutely flying. And, maybe in a little bit different environment, we might have enjoyed the coaster a little bit more, but it was like 100 degrees out. We picked like the hottest. Okay, first of all, we literally picked like the hottest 2 weeks of the year to do our roller coaster trip. And
actually literally.
yeah, and it was like the last week of June, and like going right up into 4th of July, and I was like, "There's no way." Like August is the hot month, right? Usually, or even late July.
Yeah. Supposed
not
to be.
not June. And yeah, it ended up being like the hottest 2 weeks of the year when we did our trip. So that might have been some of the issues that we were experiencing a lot of these roller coasters at their absolute peak.
Yeah.
But that being
So
said, Twisted Timber's peak was just a little too much for us. I don't know.
well, I was gonna say too that because it was so hot out and King's Dominion was kind of one of our middle parks, so we'd already been to a couple parks. We're kind of I personally was kind of worn out and the heat was really starting to get to me a little bit. And then on top of that, this was kind of unfortunately kind of like Steve. So it was hot out and I was tired. And then we had the stupid situation with my over the shoulder bag that they wouldn't let us take in line. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. See, that didn't
Yeah.
really get to me that much.
Well, I was pissed about it because every other ride I've been able to put it. So did this one have a locker system or they just didn't let you bring bags?
This one did not have a locker system at all, from what I could remember. Oh no, no,
Yeah.
no! It was they did have no. This one did have a locker system, but they did not allow bags with a strap. I assume they had a situation where somebody threw a bag with a strap in the locker and then it got stuck on
Yeah.
the one side and they couldn't get it out, and it was probably a whole situation and blah 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 blah. So, yes, this one did have a small locker system, just like Steve. However, they did not allow anything with a strap to go inside the locker, which basically defeats the whole purpose
Of
of the
the
locker
locker.
system, if
So
you
I
ask me.
yeah,
So,
I'm like I get big backpacks because obviously they're just not going to fit in those small lockers. And I'm like I get that there were issues and they're trying to prevent them, but just not letting anybody take any strapped items into the lockers again defeats the whole purpose. And so it's like, well, now that I know about it, I just know when I come to this park not to bring it with me or whatever. But at the time, just everything compounding just made me mad about it. So I don't know if I was in the right headspace to ride this ride anyways.
well,
We'll have to go back.
we did get multiple rides on it. I rode it more than you did. I think you were
Yeah.
done after like the first time. I did ride it like 3 or 4 times, and my fourth ride experience, once I figured out how to like brace myself, it was more enjoyable. But that being said, it's just one of those things where it's not our cup of tea. We don't. It's not what we prefer in roller coasters. I think is what it comes down to, is the really short, very intense blips of airtime.
Yeah.
Obviously, in a small dosage, is very fun, and you can deal with it in that moment. But to basically deal with it for the entire layout of the roller coaster, it's just a little much for us, and that's kind of crazy for me to say, but
Yeah, right?
considering some of the ride experiences. But see, the thing is like, because a lot of people will go, "Oh, but you like Magnum so much." This was more painful than Magnum, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
And
So,
Magnum's quote unquote painful part is only the very back half of the coaster.
yep.
You know what
It's
I mean?
it's not a consistent theme throughout the whole thing.
No, and this one was a very consistent theme throughout. Basically, other than the inversions, it
Yeah.
was. Well, the other thing too is, I will say this: the back-to-back camelbacks at the
I was going
beginning
to
of the
talk
layout.
about that. I was going to talk about that cuz it is the one shining moment in this thing.
But those just aren't quite as forceful moments, and it's a lot more sustained. So when you do hit the restraint, you're actually held there for a longer period, and it does give you a little bit, I don't want to say of a rest, but it gives you a moment to like not feel like you're getting your thighs absolutely bashed in
Yeah.
over and over again. So like there are good elements on this coaster, and like I said, this is not a bad roller coaster. It's just at times it becomes a little bit much, and it becomes very repetitive. I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest issue, is it becomes very repetitive, and we like diversity in roller coasters. I think me and you can both agree on that.
Yes. So, why don't I get into a layout of this guy? You start with a 180-degree right turn out of the station that brings you right into that lift hill, and in true RMC fashion, it's very steep and it goes right straight up to the top. And at the top, you have a banked elevated turnaround that then twists you into that barrel roll down drop with you landing right side up at the bottom, and you immediately hit like a speed hill with like a little slight curve in it before speeding through an overbanked right turn. You then hit another speed hill with a little curve in it before these are the huge camelbacks just right in a row. And these are the ones,
Very
yeah.
good moments.
So, and this is also early in the ride. So it's like you get these awesome moments, and then unfortunately the rest of it, I was like, oh. So after the camelbacks, you have another little speed hill with a curve in it. That's the other thing, is these little speed hills too aren't straight either. So they like, I don't want to call them off axis because they're not off axis. When you watch the POV, they got like a little curve in them where you turn just a tiny bit.
It's a really good dose of laterals with your airtime.
Yes. So you get that little speed hill before a straight airtime hill, and then you have two off-axis airtime hills into another straight airtime hill that whips you into like I'm calling it an S-curve moment because it's kind of what it is, but it's like instead of a right into a left, it's like a right into a left into a right. It's got like three little curves in it. And
Oh yeah.
then you head into another quick airtime before flipping into the 0G roll. And that drops you into a wave turn where you don't quite come down to like level before another wave turn. I think these might actually be overbanked turns, but I don't know.
I would just call them a banked turn, honestly. They're not
Okay.
really. I wouldn't really call them a wave turn because they're not big enough.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I wouldn't call
Yeah.
them an overbank either.
Okay. So they're banked turns. You get almost 90 degrees, and they do have a little bit of an airtime hill in them, but like you were saying, not quite big enough to be in a wave turn.
Yeah,
But
because
then
this is
you
at the
go ahead.
very end of the layout where the elements are getting very small and
Yeah.
compact.
Yes. That's the other thing is like besides the inversions and the big camelbacks, all of these elements are super close to the ground, so you carry your speed a lot through all of this layout. So after those wave-esque turn elements, you have a final speed hill, another airtime hill, and then you like pop up into the final breaks. So, like I said, we were saying it's a lot of little speed hills in there, and they do have a little bit of that curve in them to give you just like something other than a straight airtime hill. The unfortunate part is they're so small and quick that it doesn't feel like it's mixing up your forces enough, and those are the ones that really like were sending me into the restraints. And then the final like off axis ones, like it was like four airtime hills in a row. Those ones were really hitting me too, and they were at the end of the ride, so it was like everything before that was just kind of compounding into that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish I could love it. I really wish I could. I wrote it twice to try and give it a chance, and it just unfortunately does not do it for me. So I apologize to anybody that loves this ride. Just like Gabe was saying, it's not my cup of tea.
But yeah, this roller coaster is just one of those things where, you know, and most people probably do love it. It's just like for us, we just prefer a little bit more diverse layout. And then you're right, the roller coaster does stay very, very close to the ground. It does not really come close to that max drop height from the beginning of the roller coaster, except for those 3 camelbacks. And I think that's really the biggest thing, is that it is a, you know, that's the thing though, it's a very well paced roller coaster, and that's part of the problem. Like we love rapid fire pacing. It's just it's almost too much rapid fire. Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. The other thing I was looking at is I did look at like the on RCDB they had the picture of the unveiling of it. And right in there,
Oh,
it says 20 airtime moments, which is the same thing they did with Steel Vengeance. They're like, oh, it's over this many airtime moments, or 30 seconds of airtime is what it was. But
yep.
it's like I'd rather have, you know, 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there, 5 seconds here, versus like a second and a half,
Yeah.
3/4 of a second. You
Yep.
know, and then it all adds up to 30 seconds. Like, and I think that's the biggest issue we have with Steel Vengeance too. I didn't realize that this was made in the same year as Steel Vengeance. That actually makes a lot of sense now.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because it really is essentially a mini Steel Vengeance.
It literally opened 2 months before Steel Vengeance, because this opened in March, and then Steel Vengeance opened in May.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is they were both Cedar Fair parks, so obviously they're interested in the similar style roller coaster. But yeah, I mean, essentially, and we even said that when we got off. It's like this is like a mini Steel Vengeance, and it's just not our cup of tea. It just isn't.
Yes.
And it's nothing against the roller coasters, even Steel Vengeance. I like to talk a lot of stuff about that roller coaster just because of its esteemed location and all this, that, and the other thing. But it's like, at the end of the day, they're not our cups of tea, and it's just roller coasters that we don't prefer to ride, obviously.
Exactly.
So,
a quick note at the end here before we switch over to your coaster. I do actually like the theme on this roller coaster. So this ride is themed after a fictional orchard called the Hanover Hill Orchard, named after Hanover County, which is where King's Dominion is located. And the story is that in 1950s, a mysterious force destroyed an apple orchard, and in present day, a local businessman has reopened the orchard to public, ignoring all of the legends. And during a tour, something goes terribly wrong, and you have to try and escape. So what I like about this ride is the trains. I think the trains are super cool because they're themed or like designed after 1950s Ford pickup trucks. So, and the station is pretty cool too. It's like an old Apple warehouse. So I will say that it is actually a pretty cool theme. And I do think the trains are like some of the coolest RMC trains, in my personal opinion.
that was definitely a common thing at King's Dominion, is the theming did feel to be a little bit more on the up and up. Would you agree with that?
I agree with you too, because this is where was it Rapterra?
Yes.
Yeah, so and that was really cool. I mean, of course it's their newest ride, so they could put some more money probably into the theming, but it was still very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, why don't you want to get into your
yes. Ride? So we transitioned from a coaster that was too intense to a coaster that wasn't intense enough.
Yeah.
Hydra The Revenge was the roller coaster at Dorney Park that really is the reason we went to Dorney Park. I mean, obviously you got Steel Force and you have Iron Menace and my new favorite coaster at the park, Talon.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the roller coaster that really was like, I want to go to Dorney Park for this ride. I've heard so many good things about this roller coaster. I think this is another case of like maybe the hype was just a little too much for what this roller coaster is.
Okay.
But obviously, you know, the JoJo roll, that was another reason, like the original JoJo roll out of the station. That was another reason to go ride this roller coaster. But just overall, this ride has a very good reputation. And I don't know, it didn't get there for me. It didn't get there for me. It just didn't. I don't know. Like, you know, when I heard about this roller coaster, I expected, and maybe this is my fault. This might be my fault. But like I expected Montu levels or Batman the Ride levels of intensity of positive G forces and inversions, because that's what these B&M roller coasters are all about. This is a little bit of a newer B&M. This is built in 2005, so it's not like the early 90s B&Ms out there, but it is still early enough that I thought it would have that kind of old, you know what I mean? There's a difference between old B&M and new B&M.
110%. We talk about this all the time.
and I think that's like a good comparison would be Banshee to Montu. Montu is a 90s invert that'll just absolutely rip your face off, where Banshee was something a little different, a little bit more drawn out, just a larger roller coaster. Or you can even do the comparisons of like Candemonium to Raging Bull.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Not even close. Not even close. Raging Bull is just way more intense, way better airtime, way better G-forces, better layout overall.
Yep.
Better first drop. Everything about Raging Bull is so much better, but that's because it's a 90s B&M, not a 2020. I don't remember when Candemonium was built. But the only new B&M that really truly lives up to the old B&M is probably Fury 325.
Yeah, that thing is, yeah. I think the problem we talk about with B&Ms, we'll get into this for just a second, is that they've kind of become what we call a cookie cutter roller coaster company, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They're great for the GP. You get a super reliable roller coaster that eats through your lines and the GP loves. So our problems with new B&M come from being roller coaster enthusiasts that want a rip your face off roller coaster.
Yeah.
That maybe the GP wouldn't enjoy as much.
And like Hydra the Revenge is kind of like on that borderline. Like it still feels like it doesn't feel like a cookie cutter experience. It just doesn't have the same intensity I expected from an older B&M. And I think that was the biggest, most disappointing thing about it, is it just wasn't a rip your face off, hopefully you got good shoes on kind of roller coaster. It was a little bit more of a newer B&M, a little softer, a little more friendly to the general public kind of roller coaster, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So this is another roller coaster where Gabe rode it more times than I did. The problem I have with this roller coaster is not really a roller coaster issue. It's just that I'm shorter. And this is one of the rides that I got a little bit of head banging on. Now, I will say this. I don't think it was because the roller coaster was rough. I just think it's because of the type of elements that this roller coaster has. It causes the side-to-side motion. And unfortunately, I would get a headache after riding this. And I do think I rode it twice. I did ride it twice, but Gabe rode it more times than I did.
Yeah, we were to the point in the trip where I was definitely marathoning a lot more than Sam was. That's for sure.
He has way more stamina when it comes to these things than I do.
Well, it's just I like to get the full experience of these roller coasters, especially the Dorney Park situation when there was nobody at the park. I mean, it was empty. So literally. It's like, why not get as many rides on it as I can? That being said, let's get into the layout of this roller coaster.
Okay.
So Hydra The Revenge starts with the iconic JoJo roll out of the station, which is just essentially a heartline roll with 0 speed.
Yes.
I will say this. Really good moment. Probably the best moment on the roller coaster, which is unfortunate that it's before the lift hill. But it is that, I will say, the JoJo roll definitely lived up to the expectations.
I was going to say, everything we thought it was going to be, which is chef's kiss.
Anyway, so you do the JoJo roll, and then you do a 180-degree turn, and that sends you up into the lift hill. This coaster features 7, count it, 7 total. I don't know why that's like the magic number in the US. Like,
yeah,
like why is that? It's like, oh yeah, this roller coaster has 7 inversions, but no more. And it's like, well, what the heck? Like, it wasn't until Steel Curtain opened that we broke 7 inversions. It's like, why? Why didn't we do more? I don't
exactly.
But anyway, so you go into the very first drop. Now, the one thing I will say is this roller coaster is a bit of a terrain roller coaster, and it's also on the edge of the park, so you do get a decent view from the top of this lift hill. You get a really good view of Steel Forest, so that's cool. Anyway, you go down the first drop and you drop into the valley a little bit below grade, and you go into a overbanked turn. That is the first element on this roller coaster. Basically, it's a 180-degree overbanked turn that sends you back towards the ground and into the first inversion, which is a 0G roll. Now, I will say this. The 0G roll on this, we might have a contender for the best 0G roll in the country, honestly. It was very, very good. The thing is, though, if on a roller coaster like this, if the best element is the 0G roll, that's not a good sign.
No.
for a roller coaster like this. It just isn't. Anyway, so that sends you back down into the first larger corkscrew of the roller coaster, which then sends you into a cobra roll, which basically acts as a turnaround. Well, so that is 2 more inversions. After the cobra roll, you dive back towards the ground and you pop up into like a twisted airtime moment. Another very good moment on this roller coaster. But again, 0 G's should not be the best moment on a floorless. It just shouldn't. So you get into the twisted airtime moment before you head into a more traditional straight airtime hill, which then sends you into the smaller second corkscrew of the ride, which then sends you into a 360-degree helix, which kind of goes up towards the ground and then dives back towards the ground towards the end. You get one more banked turn, and you roll into the final brakes. And I think that's part of the issue of this roller coaster is where the station is located, because as you roll to the final brakes, you're not slamming into them. It's a very gentle approach. You know what I mean? Like on Batman, when you hit the brakes, you are slamming on the brakes. It's like you just saw a deer on the road and you are grabbing every bit of brake you have.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of like glides into the brakes. So like it does kind of get situated on the side of the hill. So at the end of the roller coaster, you do start to lose some of that speed as you're basically climbing the hill back to the station level. And it just doesn't have the same pop. It doesn't have the same intensity. It doesn't have the same wow factor. Like a Talon, even a Talon, we got off that and we were like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah.
And I just didn't get that same kind of reaction when I got off of Hydra. And that's what I was expecting, though. I was expecting that to like be a wow. That was insane. Like, and it just didn't have that same kind of B&M pop. I'm going to call it B&M pop. Is that okay?
Yes. We are definitely 110% coming up with our own version of like terms here, and I'm here for it so much. So yes.
I don't know, you get off a Batman clone and you feel that. You get off a Montu and you feel that. You get off a Raptor. Like a Raptor is another one where you just get off that and you're like, oh, that was good. Like,
yes.
And I just didn't have that reaction. Like I got off it. I was like, that was okay. That was decent. That was not bad. Like I didn't say that was good definitively when I got off the roller coaster. And that's just my honest reaction behind it. And I think that's why it was a very disappointing roller coaster for me. Because I thought it was going to be I really thought it was going to be the best roller coaster at Dorney Park. And it just didn't get there for me. It just didn't quite live up to that expectation. Especially with how, and some of this has to do with how good Talon is. I really think. Because if Talon wasn't as good of a roller coaster as it was, maybe Hydra wouldn't have been as quite disappointing as I thought, as my reaction was to it. Steel Force is another one. That was very, very good.
Oh, we love that. We marathon that. That was our end of the night marathon.
And it's like, even like a roller coaster like Possessed, like the Intamin Impulse coaster.
Oh, gosh.
That launch is good. It is very, very good. And it's like, then you walk over to Hydra and you're just like, I don't know. Is Hydra even better than Possess? The hot take here. I don't know if it is. Like, okay, obviously that's not true. But you know what I mean? When you start to question it like that, it's like, okay, this roller coaster really is not as good as what I was expecting it to be.
Yes. So I think with our two roller coasters, it's kind of two different situations and why a roller coaster would be disappointing. Yours was you hyped this thing up, you were ready for an amazing experience, and then you got on it and it wasn't what you thought it was. And then to like compound that issue, you had another roller coaster, a B&M invert right across the way that was everything you wanted Hydra to be, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then mine was the case of it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't a cup of tea, and that's not the coaster's fault. So
that being said, okay, how do we pick a winner here? Are we saying which one was more disappointing, or are we saying which coaster's was better?
I think on these ones, we do quote unquote which one was worse.
Which ones was worse? I'm gonna say Hydra, and I liked Twisted Timber more than you did. I will say that, especially after getting multiple re-rides on the roller coaster. But for me, the most disappointing coaster, obviously it's the one I picked, was Hydra for the entire
I was gonna say, and I think we can't have this be our tie episode, or no, because never mind. I'm saying mine is more disappointed for me, so I'm picking mine. Yeah, I forget that we could disagree.
Yes, we can disagree. That being said, though, don't take this the wrong way. These are not bad roller coasters. Yes. I wouldn't put this in the category of, was it Screaming Eagle at Six Flags St. Louis?
I think that is going to take the cake for the worst roller coaster we've ridden for a while.
Yeah, so. You're right. But it's not in the bad roller coaster category. It's just not in the breaking the top 15. The thing is like both these roller coasters, some people consider to be the best in their respective amusement park. Yeah. And I disagree with that for both roller coasters. Obviously, we didn't get to ride Intimidator 305. That's a whole nother thing. But even compared to was it Grizzly?
Yeah.
The Woody was really good. We're going to have to talk about that roller coaster at some point.
Well, actually, I think I slotted it in for one of our food truck episodes.
You did? Okay. Mm-hmm. So, even a Grizzly, I kind of preferred that over Twisted Timbers. And some of that's just, the nerd roller coaster enthusiast in me that likes traditional roller coasters. But, I don't know. I don't know. It was good, Yeah. Even Rapterra was kind of disappointing, though, too. Yeah. I could have thrown that in there. That's another roller coaster that was, for me. King's Dominion did not live up.
Actually,
did not. The whole
that's a discussion right there. It's just the of the whole place.
Yeah, it was not an amusement. Obviously, again, we didn't get to ride out 305. That probably completely changes the outlook for that park.
Yeah,
but I-305 was closed. Rapterra was kind of The Flight of Fear clone that they had there was kind of
Yeah,
the Dominator was good, but it wasn't right home about. Kind of
yeah
good. Honestly, the only coaster we got off we were wait, that's actually really good, was Grizzly. Honestly, because even what was the Racer 75, is that what it's called there? Even that one was just kind of I don't know. King's Dominion, you gotta step your game up here a little bit, guys.
Yeah, apparently. Jeez.
Anyway, we're 33 minutes in, so we've picked a winner. We have a very, very special episode for next week, Sam. Would you like to do the honors?
And I got permission, so I'm going to shout her out as much as I can. We got a suggestion. We actually got multiple suggestions from her, but this is a listener named Vicky, and the one we chose from the list that she gave us is Best First Drop. And I'm actually excited for this episode because
wow, we picked two very good ones. Two very different roller coasters. Not even in the same stratosphere. Oh, well, height-wise they are, but
that's where the similarities stop.
Yeah, that's literally where the similarities stop. Completely different manufacturers, completely different ride experiences, completely different locations.
And then completely different first drops.
Oh, 100%. And one has this sprawling, massive area to work with, and then the other one was we're gonna try and fit this into one city block.
We have 2 feet, and you need to build me a 200-foot tall roller coaster. What can you do?
So that being said, two very good roller coasters though that we both agree. One is from our 2025 trip. There's a hint.
Yep.
One of them we have talked about a million times on this podcast, probably
Yes.
at this point.
Well, see, and the funny thing is we've mentioned it a bunch of times, but I think the only time we've actually done like a full overview of the roller coaster was way back on season 1 because it was on my top 15. So
yes. So it's been a while since we've actually dug into this roller coaster. That being said, I have re-rides on it.
Yeah.
This year, it's better than ever. It really is. It is better than ever. This roller coaster just gets better every time I get off of it. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe, probably. Actually, it's guaranteed that I'm biased. But that being said, that will be a fun battle. Thank you, Vicky, for the suggestion. I just want to say really quick, we wanted to do more, but we have a very full schedule this year because of all of the new roller coasters we got to ride. Yes. So unfortunately for now, that is the suggestion we picked was the best first drop. I did say in a previous episode that she also suggested best night ride. Unfortunately, we don't get night rides a lot of the times. It's just the time period we ride roller coasters, when it's in the middle of summer and the sun doesn't set till 10, and a lot of these parks close, especially during the week, by 8 or 9 o'clock. We just don't get night rides as often as we like. Maybe we'll have to do a trip this winter and see if we can go like down to somewhere that would be having a good night ride. I don't know. Air Force One would probably be a fun night ride.
See, and the thing about that ride, too, is it's not in a huge park, so there's going to be no lights from the park, and then it's not close to town, either.
No, so it's not.
It's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Another one that pops into my head is Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia, a roller coaster we haven't been able to ride because it was closed when we were there. That thing would probably have insane night rides. We got, actually, that's a park we take it because we got night rides on Georgia Scorcher. And that was insanely good. We got night rides on The Riddler's Revenge. Is that one? I know it's The Riddler. I just don't know if it's The Riddler's Revenge or not.
I don't remember what the full name of it is either.
And we got night rides on, what was the other one? Superman. We did get rides on Superman, the original Ultimate Flight.
Yeah, we technically have night rides on, like, if we really want to get into it, we also have night rides on Fury 325.
That is true. But Fury 325 is, as much as a awesome roller coaster that is, it's kind of a generic night ride just because it's a very open area. Like that theme park doesn't have a lot of hills or terrain or foliage. Like, love Fury 325. Night ride, you can miss out on that.
It doesn't make it better.
No, it's not a beast night ride. Let's put it that way. That is a roller coaster. The next time we go to Kings Island, we are staying until they kick us out.
We're just not going to go to the park until noon, because that's part of it.
No, I know. Sometimes we can't make it. We're getting old, Sam.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're rambling again. Anyway, thank you, Vicky, for your super awesome suggestion. We cannot wait to talk about that in the next week's podcast. Hopefully, you're not disappointed by our first drops.
Yes.
I think we picked two very good ones. I picked the best one in my roller coaster catalog, so I was like Sam, like I put this suggestion down, and I'm like, you know what, I'm picking it right away. Otherwise, Sam's gonna take it. So
he knows me too well, guys.
I was like, let me get in there real quick and jot that down. So for those of you who don't know, I do most of the podcast scheduling, so that's why it's screwed up all the time. But.
Oh gosh. All right, everybody. Let's get out of here before we are here for another hour.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to us today. Join us next week for our suggestion episode from Vicky, and we will see you all next week.
And I hope you all have a great day.